Welcome to What We're Watching. I'm Ed.
I'm Catherine.
I'm Liz.
And John.
This is another episode of the weekly show that we're posting about all the crazy amounts of television shows and movies and new stuff and old stuff. And
we consume.
we're fans of it all, and then we come back and tell you all the stuff that we consumed.
Yes.
It's great.
It is hard to narrow it down to like what you're going to actually talk about. But
It's like the worst, because also like it's now a job. I'm like paying attention to what I'm watching. I can't just like slack off and watch some old
you
things.
You have a notepad in front
you
of you
can absolutely
now.
watch some old thing.
But it's also like you have to be semi-conscious of like, oh, well, I do want to bring something nice for the audience. Like I could talk to you guys about the same movie. I could talk about Groundhog Day every week. And that would be really boring, right? So
although that would
fans,
be on par for Groundhog Day. It would be perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that'd be so funny if every week Ed came in and talked about Groundhog Day.
I think I should just do my own podcast where I just talk about Groundhog Day for an hour once a week. Everybody will love it. It'll be great. Me and Bill Murray by ourselves.
That is such a great movie, actually. Andie MacDowell, right?
Andie MacDowell, who I met once in an airport, got her autograph.
What?
Yeah.
You did? You went up to her?
Of course I did. She's super approachable. And
Nice.
absolutely nobody else was bothering her. It was weird, like all the flights were canceled, so everyone was stranded. So she was like, oh, sure, cool.
I'll just chat with you. Sure.
And then I worked on a pilot series for Peter Greenberg Productions that she was the pilot episode.
Oh,
Of course,
all right.
she would have no idea that I'm
Okay,
involved
look,
in that.
we just had Groundhog Day, and probably none of us actually watched it, and we're all loved that movie.
Yeah,
did
but
anybody watch it?
No.
I did.
I watched
Oh,
little
good
clips.
job.
Oh,
Yeah.
you were on theme for recently. And
course.
did that groundhog go back in? Do we have more winter? Although
was
it's like
not paying
80
attention.
degrees in Los Angeles right
He
now.
It's so hot.
saw a shadow and was like, it's going to be hot for a week. But basically, still got 6 weeks.
Well, it's funny you said you went up and got her autograph because, our father who was in the industry, basically, us older siblings were always told never to bother anybody.
Oh, yeah. I don't even remember him saying that, but it was a definite vibe of like, you just don't do that.
I remember with Rosemary, our younger sister, we were somewhere and we saw somebody that we got excited about. I mean, we're born and raised in LA, so we would see people quite often. And Dad was like, no, they are
Having dinner or
They're having
whatever.
dinner. This is their personal time. Do not go up and bother them. So really, I think that's why I'm not that, I don't want to say impressed, but I don't get that like,
Starstruck. Or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think with all the people I've worked with in my life, I think like 2 or 3 people have made me go like, oh my gosh. But I still didn't ask for their autograph, Ed.
Well, it's interesting because what you're talking about is we're from the Hollywood area. We're from, Los Angeles. So it makes sense that if you see someone out and about in Los Angeles, they're probably like downtime from work. It's not like,
just living their life.
I'm in North Carolina in an airport. Don't bother me. I'm very special. Chill out, Andy. You're good.
Well, you probably
I'm a
weren't
big
the
fan.
only one in North Carolina who was like, what the hell? Andy is here?
And honestly,
I recognize her with that hair.
I'm very
course.
slow. 20 plus years later, I know I went to school in Savannah, Georgia, but one of the layover, cities was Atlanta, and occasionally it would be someplace in North Carolina because our oldest brother James would be living in and around those places. So it made sense to like have someone nearby that you could like travel to a city that they're
Maybe
if you
visit
need
or
if
whatever.
you need a ride or a pickup or you're staying there for the weekend or whatever. But I hadn't connected the episode of I don't think the actual show went anywhere, but it's like visit my hometown and I'll show off like where I'm from because I love my hometown. So Andie MacDowell's hometown I think is in like South Carolina, North Carolina. Makes sense why I ran into her on.
Yeah,
that
and she has a
coast.
southern accent, which famously they took out of the Tarzan movie and dubbed her over.
Yeah, they replaced her. I forget who they replaced her with, but
I think
yeah.
it was like a British actress, somebody with a very posh voice, and she was like, "What?" But at the same time, you could understand, like, wow, if your southern twang may have not fit in the English Times for Tarzan, the origin story. It's like,
Yeah, might not have been exactly perfect fit.
well, God love you, Andie MacDowell. I don't know how we got up.
Because the
Sidetrack,
Groundhog.
full sidetrack.
Yeah, Groundhog
Okay.
Day was what I went, oh.
All right, so Ed, what are you
I
watching?
am going to go ahead and start the episode with what
Yes.
I watched this week that I'm bringing to the table because I watch a lot of stuff. And one of the things I watched this week, which I want to talk about, was Mortal Kombat.
Mortal
which came out
Kombat.
last year.
Oh
So I did not go see it in the theaters. I also listen, I like a good action movie. And as far as video game fight movies, in college, I played Mortal Kombat with my roommates. I wasn't good. I don't have a gaming system. I'm not a gamer. So, watching the gaming movies, I'm like, yeah, I remember getting my butt kicked. This is like some traumatic re-experiencing of these moments. But as far as there have been some really bad movies that were based on video games. And I personally have seen old Mortal Kombats and old Street Fighter movies that we shouldn't talk about on this
Are
podcast.
fully the most classic movies, obviously.
Raul Julia. I'm just so sad for you in Street Fighter. Anyways.
Oh, really? Oh, he's one of my favorites.
I know, and that was like one of the last movies that he made, and it's a really
Oh,
bad.
are you serious?
It's a really
That's
bad
sad.
Oh,
mid '90s like port of a video game into movies. So, anyways, I was hesitant, and then it's up on HBO Max. So guess what? I'm gonna fire that guy across the old bow and see what's happening with this movie. There were some really great unexpected moments that I laughed out loud a couple times.
Nice.
And partly, it's harder to track who's in everything now. So you kind of have to, like, if you like someone, you may have to go track down the thing that they're in because you didn't see the trailer. There's too many other people in it. There's lots of stuff going on. So the actor Josh Lawson, who's not one of the main stars, he plays Kano, which is one of the main characters of the video game. And he is not going to be in the sequel unless they do some special stuff. I mean, it's a magical fighting realm.
As we always
so
say,
there's possibilities.
there are spoiler alerts. This is a movie you said is a year old, so really at this
So
one.
highly
Does he
probable-
does he die?
Highly probable
Okay.
he's not making it into the
Okay.
sequel, but just like all the things where, like, Star Wars, you weren't expecting someone to make it in the sequel. And you're like, yeah, that's just his bottom half. He's still good. He's got the double sword still.
Regeneration. Okay.
So one of my favorite characters from this series, and it's a series that I'm sure we've all watched, and I'm going to need some help coming up with the show. I love, our little game that we play where I don't always remember the name of the thing that I'm talking about. Do you remember the name? All right, well then don't tell me. Maybe give me hints. Don't give me hints. Let's just keep the conversation
I
going.
just want to try and remember on my own.
House of Lies.
Thank you. House of Lies. This actor,
Oh.
Josh Lawson, played like the nerdy fourth party to like the sales team. He never got any of his sales pitches across. He was just like kind of not the loser
That's a
of the
Showtime
team.
show, right? Yeah, okay,
and that's an
sitcom.
old show. So
Right.
I really enjoyed him on that show. Always enjoyed the comedy that he was bringing to the table and so many other people that he's competing with. So to stand out in that cast was great. I wasn't expecting him in Mortal Kombat. He was hysterically awesome.
Oh, awesome.
I really enjoyed how
Oh.
like his character, but it might also be more of like the a-hole character that the in-game Kano plays. Whatever, it's all good. There's a lot of great, stars. There's a lot of action.
Can I just throw in real
Go for
quick
it, yeah.
about Josh, this actor that you just brought up? I did not watch House of Lies, but he was the pharmacist in Superstore, and he was fucking hilarious.
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, he was so great.
Oh, wow.
Also, Superstore is, I believe, on Hulu. Watch it. Absolutely.
It just ended this year, right? Or just recently?
Yes,
last
just recently,
season? Yeah.
wrapped up. It was very, very fun. And I think didn't do super great when it first started, and then people started to catch it on Hulu, and then
The Superstore didn't do super great.
pretty much. And
Until
then people
super
loved
later.
it, loved it,
But
loved
it
it.
is absolutely fantastic.
Oh.
Nice.
Yeah, and he, as the pharmacist, was incredibly funny. So when you said his name, I, of course, typed it in real quick and was like,
So that's a
oh,
big
what?
recommendation, Superstore.
Oh, Superstore, yes, 100%.
Well, in general, anything Josh Lawson's in is the recommendation. I'm really not truly recommending that anyone who's not into games or action adventure fight movies. Yeah, whatever. I've been watching ridiculous, stupid fight movies that I shouldn't have had access to since I was 10. As soon as you can watch Bloodsport, I'm in. This is terrible, but I'm in. So
really,
I've been
it's a
watching those kind of movies a long time. If you're not into the genre, skip it. But Josh Lawson stuff, get it.
Josh Lawson. That's the real recommendation. All right. Well, look, for sure Superstore, and maybe Mortal Kombat, and also maybe House of Lies.
Well, there's going to be more.
Catherine, we don't need your qualifications.
What? It's
In
fine.
fact, that's my suggestion for the sequel to Mortal Kombat. Don't do Mortal Kombat 2 and Mortal Kombat 3 like you did last time. Just do more Mortal Kombat.
Oh,
really
shit.
bad.
Okay.
Get it in
Oh,
there.
my gosh.
Do it. All right.
Oh my God. Okay. I'll go
Who
next.
else? Okay, get it.
So I have been watching.
What do you got, Catherine?
What? I got Dollface. Oh, is that what you wanted to call me? Dollface?
Ooh.
Oh, no, it's the show. Okay, so I didn't watch it when it first started, and their second season was just about to drop. I think it dropped this week or Friday or something.
I've seen promos for it, yeah.
Yeah, I just happened, and I was like, you know what? I've been meaning to watch that. I'm gonna get on it. And okay, so the premise is basically, and then I'll tell you who the cast is, and then another little fact that I figured out. essentially, you've got a young woman who's been in a long-term relationship and her boyfriend dumps her. This is in the first scene in the pilot, so it's not really a spoiler. And she realizes that she's kind of neglected her friends. And so it's really about her trying to rekindle her friendships with her girlfriends.
Oh,
and
okay.
which sadly I can totally relate to that because I'm not a real big friend haver and I'm not good at like keeping up friendships. So I was like, oh girl, I hear you.
Whereas I just went to like, it's almost it's Valentine's Day, or we just had Valentine's Day, and I went to a Galantine, or what the heck is Galentine?
Galentine's Day.
And you told me that's actually from Parks and Rec.
Yeah, it's a
it's a thing now, people.
Which also Parks and Rec. So good.
I actually got a cute card at Trader Joe's with the. I mean that's much of a theme. It's been embraced. Yeah. Okay, so that's interesting. She realized she's ditched her friends because of her boyfriend.
Right.
And
They
now
break up.
she's got to get back in the friend circle.
So it's very, very cute. She also has all of these like fantasy sequences, including a cat lady who actually is a cat, which is hysterical. Now, who stars in it? We've got Kat Dennings, who was in Two Broke Girls and also in Thor. And she's in that universe. She's very fun. Her character is really great. Very challenged by the idea of like trying to be a good girlfriend to your girlfriends is like not in her wheelhouse. And it's fun to watch her try and manage that. Then Brenda Song, who I have a daughter who, when she was younger, watched The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, and she was in that and amazing, which now people might know that she just had a baby with Macaulay Culkin. That's what Brenda Song's been up to.
There's a Home Alone sequel coming out in like 5 or 6 years.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
With their kid? That would be amazing. So Brenda Song, fantastic. And then Shay Mitchell from Pretty Little Liars, who I didn't watch Pretty Little Liars, but I did know of her, and she gorgeous and so good.
Wait, John, wasn't she in the first season of You that we loved?
She certainly was. Unfortunately, Peach was not the most fun character.
Oh, no. Her name was Peach?
If I remember correctly, which of course I do. So yes. But
I liked her. I liked her in it.
Very wrong, but
I like a little
look.
evil
The whole series
spice.
is a little off, so it's fine.
Yeah. The fourth friend in the group is played by Esther, I want to say, Pavitsky?
This is going to be a heavy pronunciation episode of Challenging, so don't worry about it.
a bunch of guesses and
I
like
skipped
fingers
every
crossed.
single name in a martial arts movie. Just so that we're clear, I said Josh Lawson. That's what I brought up.
That was probably a safe bet.
It was. I looked at the cast. I'm like, well, I was
can't
going to
say
talk
any of
about him.
that.
I think that's all I'm talking about.
Holy moly.
So skip-a-roo on that. Okay, so the other connection, so as I was doing research for this, just being like, well, who created this show? Because I freaking love it. Her name is Jordan Weiss. I'm going to also guess that that's how you say her last name. And she worked on one of my favorite shows that I still am sad that it doesn't exist anymore, People of Earth. Oh,
You did love that show.
I loved it. Oh my God. I think it had 2 seasons and it was a delight. And it is also available on Hulu. So that's what I'm bringing to
One
the
of
table.
Catherine's very sad television show deaths.
Yeah, it's funny when like my husband or John or my daughter will text me about a show that I love. Like, oh, it's over. And I'm like, no. Oh, no.
Do you ever, when that happens though? I mean, sometimes I lose steam on it knowing it's over. Like,
I think the second season had already like come out. So like I was already up to date.
It's a cable show, so she was watching it pretty much as it happened, and the announcement was
No more.
Oh.
No more. Yeah. So
Well, I'm looking at the cast too, and I love that actress, Malin Ackerman.
yeah, she has not a cameo. She plays a recurring character as one of the character's bosses, and she's very
I always
fun.
like her. Whatever she's in, I'm always like, I think she brings a certain energy. She was in Billions, definitely the first season or 2, because she played Axe's wife, and I did like her. And then you know what I find interesting about Kat Dennings? Do you know who she's married to?
No.
Andrew WK, who's like this, like performing. He's like a singer, but he's like kind of avant-garde. Or
he's a serious rocker. What are you talking about?
Serious rocker. And they're very cute on social together. It just added a new dimension for me about her, and I really dug it. I was
Love
like,
it.
Oh,
the one other thing that I neglected to mention is it's Margot Robbie's production company. So she is an executive producer on it and also has a very funny little guest cameo spot in it, which is very fun. Okay. I think that's it on Dollface.
I really want to know, though, but on Kat, she was also in WandaVision, which I loved. I mean, that's now about a year ago, right?
Because of Thor, but yeah.
Yeah,
uh-huh.
it's
because of Thor. Okay.
right, because she's in that universe. So She
right.
gets,
But I couldn't remember, so I was going to ask one of you like that. But she played the same character throughout. She's kind of like a
like a science nerd, like
computer
person. Yeah.
consultant. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Okay. And actually, you know what? Who else is on? I'm just looking at it because I'm like, all right, what is this Dollface? Goran Vidzinski, I think.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Well, he had an arc on Grey's Anatomy, which is very interesting casting. You're like, where did you
is he playing
find
a
this
doctor?
guy?
Catherine, is he playing a doctor in the show?
oh my God, he is.
Yeah.
He is.
He's not
Because
been
wasn't-
typecast since he came over and was
But he's
on
from
ER.
Croatia. Yeah,
on
Croatia.
ER
He
as
was-
a Croatian imported doctor.
I had
he has been
Dr.
typecast.
Luca. That was his name. I can't
Dr.
remember.
Luca, exactly.
Yes.
No, he was obviously big deal on ER. I don't remember him from Grey's Anatomy, but yeah, ironically, he is playing a doctor. That's not a huge part of the storyline, but it is referenced, and I bet
Oh my
you
gosh,
they did that on
no,
purpose.
you guys.
You gotta make a
I
call
totally
like that.
got it wrong. It wasn't Grey's Anatomy. It was ER.
Oh, this
Good. I was worried that he had just been playing a doctor on TV
No.
and had
I
not
had
gotten
it
one of those
wrong.
commercials where like
Sorry,
but I play
Goran.
one on TV.
Sorry. No. It was very serious ER. He was the Dr. Luca on ER. Not. I had Grey's Anatomy on my mind, for a particular reason, but no.
okay, that is hysterical because I was totally going with you. I'm like ER and Grey's Anatomy. Sure, love it.
And John, he was in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
Huh. I do love that movie. Both versions, the Swedish and David Fincher, obviously.
I can't remember
I can't
Swedish.
remember what he does in that movie, but all right.
Yeah, neither
I'm
can
pretty sure he's a doctor.
he might be.
Why
Oh
did you
my-
give that to me?
He might be. Oh my gosh. Well, yes. So more accurately, ER. Well, that sounds like a really cool cast. So Dollface. Okay.
And I don't know why I didn't start it when it first happened, but I highly recommend it. So
on Hulu.
On Hulu, so it's 10 episodes. So that first season, you've got 10 episodes. Second season, 10 episodes. And you know how Hulu will sometimes only give you a little bit at a time?
Yes.
They did the whole second season. So the whole second season is also available right now.
Yeah. All right. So John, do you want to go?
Yeah, I can go. And what I'm going to talk about is another movie. Sorry, everybody.
Uh-huh.
Movies are good. Don't apologize.
I apologize to no one.
Okay,
I guess,
perfect.
apparently.
Mm-hmm.
So, just came out last week. We're talking about Death on the Nile.
Oh,
Whoa.
wow.
All right.
Yes. I'm excited.
Yeah, 20th Century Fox, of Disney. So in the theaters now, but eventually it's undecided, but apparently their deal will eventually stream on Hulu, HBO, or Disney somewhere in their distribution deal.
Great,
So
okay.
eventually you'll get it. I did like the first one a lot that Kenneth Branagh did. Murder on the Orient Express. I thought it was fun. I was psyched about this, so I was excited to go see it. I definitely, look, Agatha Christie, obviously huge author, has been adapted a million times, so I guess I should know all the stories, but I don't. I have not seen a ton of them, so I had no idea what was going to happen, and it definitely is surprising for who's in it and what happens to them, and, you could say it's predictable, and obviously if you know the story. but-
Wait, was there a murder? Ugh, predicted it.
Well, there is a death on the Nile.
Oh, hence the title.
Yeah, very true.
Okay.
So
Hikli Pere, Heleki Pere. How do you pronounce his name?
I think it's he's Belgian and it's tough. But yeah, Hercule Poirot, something like that.
Kenneth
Poirot we're
Branagh.
getting right. Hercule we're not
We're
sure.
not sure.
Although, Belgian almost always played by an Englishman, played by a million people. I was shocked the amount of people. I do see in my head the guy with the black hair and, of course, a mustache.
Yeah.
David Suchet. But I don't think I've even watched any of those. But apparently Albert Finney, Orson Welles,
Yes, I've seen
John
that one.
Malkovich. Ian Holm, played by a ton of people.
Wow.
So very fun. All right, so I didn't even know some of these casts, but obviously Gal Gadot was fantastic. I liked her. Rose Leslie from Game of Thrones.
Ooh.
Emma Mackey. I had not watched Sex Education, so I didn't know her, but she was great.
Ooh, Sex Education is so good.
Yeah,
She's amazing.
she was really good. I was surprised. Anyway, so I really dug it. You should see it. Unfortunately, no part shot in Egypt. It was all shot in England.
Oh. Okay.
Well, okay, I'm sorry. All the cast was shot in England. They did do some, second location, B-roll only that they then composited in effect-wise of the actual pyramids and Abu Simbel, the temple. So,
Well, also, that would be interesting if they had tried to do location shots because it's set like 100 years ago or 85 years ago or something, right?
Not quite.
I mean, like train travel times. That's forever long ago.
500
True.
years ago?
I think
Let's
it's
just keep
Forever.
guessing.
Oh,
I think
back in the
1937. So
Yeah, ancient times.
shockingly, that is closer to 100 years than I would have thought.
I said 80.
God, yeah,
That's
that is
100
actually.
to 80, and I nailed it then.
It's very strange.
37, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. So
Back in the train murder days.
well, there is no train. There's a boat. Although the boat is also partially fake. Apparently, that was a huge stage and thing that they built that they moved on a railroad track. So I thought that was interesting.
Did you watch like a behind the scenes, or what do you just?
I'm sorry. Am I not supposed to know anything?
Wow.
Or
geez,
was this
burn.
movie like a Tristram Shandy cock and bull story?
No, I just looked this stuff up because it was interesting.
Tristram Shandy? What is that?
That's for another podcast.
Okay. Okay.
I do know Gal Gadot is a lead and really seems to be featured in all the marketing. Or I'm assuming that. So, and then I love, wait, you know who is in it? Is Jennifer Saunders, who is from Ab Fab. Absolutely fabulous.
Oh, sure.
So I don't know if she ends up dead or what,
Darling,
but
darling.
I am so excited to see her. I always love her. And Annette Bening, I know I saw her.
Also, Dawn French is another great English character actress.
Ooh, I cannot wait. I didn't know it was already out, but you went to the movie theater.
I did go to the movie theater.
Nice. Okay. Well, very exciting. And I watched the first one with Josh Gad and, you know, all that whole cast. I actually really enjoyed it. So I was looking forward to seeing this one, actually.
Well, it's there for you, and someday on streaming, probably.
And Kenneth Branagh also directed it, right?
Yep.
And I think Ridley Scott was one of the producers.
He is. And actually, the editor, who I cannot pronounce the name of, Una Ni Donghali, I don't know, she's Irish.
Sure, good try.
She also edited Belfast, Kenneth Branagh's other movie this year.
Which he got
And-
nominated for, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Well, sure. And then his 2018 All Is True about William Shakespeare. And then had 3 of his Wallander TV series movies, entries as well. She also did 3 episodes of The Crown. So she's great. I apparently like her stuff a lot.
That's interesting.
Death on the Nile.
Yeah, the only other thing I would say about it, so 1937, apparently the Abu Simbel, the temple that you see a ton of in the movie, relocated because they turned that portion of the Nile into a reservoir, Lake Nasser. So that whole, there's actually a large temple and a small temple. I think we only really see the large temple. Were relocated, slightly to the, I guess maybe west, where they moved to the bank to make this lake or reservoir. So not how it is today, apparently.
Doesn't-
Wait, I
exists
was just
there.
ask, because I don't know a lot. Who moved it?
The modern Egyptians,
Really?
yes. With,
Oh my-
cranes and all kinds of stuff.
That's
It's
like,
crazy.
when you're
Rebuild
on
it.
when
Yeah.
you're on the freeway and you see a house on the back of a flatbread movie, and they're like, don't mind us.
We're just moving this thing.
We're just moving this whole holy temple that is thousands of years old.
It's
Yeah.
fine. We'll just
And so
put it
that
back
was-
together.
Yeah, 1964.
Whoa.
and it
Pretty
is-
recent.
Yep. I mean, this is unfortunately, as a person who likes history but doesn't know everything about it, the Egyptian temples and stuff, all that, there's things that have happened that you don't fully realize unless you really look into it. It's like, oh, they moved this temple? I had no idea.
Interesting.
Part of that also is, weather kind of, this is why this area was like lived in a bunch, because sometimes that weather be coming in, and then it's a lake and it takes over our whole entire. We gotta figure out how to not have that go back underwater.
They gotta
It's the
fig-
1960s. We can do it.
They got to figure out how to handle the Nile.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you think this isn't going to be a problem? Are you in denial? That was had to make that joke.
Oh, I'm definitely going to see that one. You convinced me. Well, actually, it took no convincing. I was planning to see it anyway.
Yeah, that was what you said to begin with. So
it was
yeah.
just on your list and you hadn't gotten to it yet.
Yeah, it was like one of those things, like it wasn't on my radar, and also I have gone to the movie theater this last year plus. It's just it's just one of those things like, oh yeah, the movie theater, I need to go. Okay.
Well, and some stuff is only still available in the theater, for a
Right.
while. Then it will trickle down.
And technology is way too good. Who's like not got a 50-inch TV screen that's reasonably sized compared to when I watched movies growing up at the UA in
Way
Warner
far
Center?
back, yeah.
That was about a 50-inch screen
Yeah.
from where I was sitting.
And we have in my den room, we have
Oh,
this area that when we first moved in, Mark, I said, well, go buy a TV, screen that will fit in that space. And
I helped. I was the consultant.
But
on that.
literally, he came back and I was like, it's too small. He's like, what? So then we've lived in the house long enough. We now have a second one. And I was like, get that thing within an inch of like
Yes,
the
that's
area.
what I consulted on.
I'm like, get as big as you possibly can.
Just
with John's help, we almost didn't get that thing on the wall.
Yeah, and the best part about it fitting the space is you then can't do anything with it. You can't get to the side of it. You can't get behind it. It's challenging.
It's like, is there the side panel that has the control, the control panel on the side? Like, I can't even wedge my fingers in there. Like, forget it.
I have had to like, what is going on back there? And like faced and then turn my whole head to get in sideways because I can't get it. I can't go sideways. My nose. I gotta hook around my. Oh no! Yeah, there's a thing. I can't
We
get my
just
arm
had
back
to have
here.
the
I'll
whole
just have to
thing
remember.
rewired again because I don't know what happens, the lack of communication. Like between Mark, our wire guy, and the wiring guy, my husband knows. So it's always like after hours, let's have a drink and then let's do this.
and then let's do it.
And
yeah,
I come home like,
perfect.
what the fuck? Like, looks like a robot barfed all over my cabinets. Like, what is happening? Like,
I do like the idea of a robot eating a whole bunch of like cords and cables. Like, oh, I'm gonna have some pasta tonight. Too
well,
much.
actually, this is a perfect segue into what I watched, which I actually finished this week. And I will be shocked if I'm the only one at the table, but the Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, I think you're the only one at the table.
What?
Booking that boba.
I mean, it's on Disney Plus. Aren't we all Star Wars fans?
Oh yeah, I mean yes, I'm
Okay,
a Star
so you're
Wars
gonna
fan.
get
Have
to
Disney
it?
Plus.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I will.
Okay, so anyways,
Go.
Okay, the Book of Boba Fett. Now, it's a series by Jon Favreau, and, Robert Rodriguez is part of it, and amazing directors were involved. I think he directed a couple episodes. Robert Rodriguez did. Bryce Dallas Howard did.
Oh, I did
was
see
pretty
some
awesome.
posts about that for sure.
And of course, I love anything, like one of my, gurus, one of my personal icons is Kathleen Kennedy. Like,
yes, absolutely.
hello, love her. So, it has a lot of the pedigree you want involved with Disney.
For sure.
And it's a spinoff of The Mandalorian that everybody loved, which had 2 seasons so far on Disney Plus. So now it's diving into the story of Boba Fett. And it literally picks up, when you watch the Star Wars, where basically they're about to throw
Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, and they're about to throw
Luke into the Sarlacc pit. I'm sorry I
Which-
have so much information on
No,
this. Go ahead.
please.
love that.
Isn't it also like the pit of despair?
No, that's Princess Bride.
I know.
However,
I
that
was-
is
I was just
also
gonna
a
test
princess
you.
brother
Yes.
story situation. Not sure how those are tied together.
So it literally picks up where like he's in that pit, but his Mandalorian armor is saving him from the salacious, disgusting, acidic saliva of the disgusting
well,
big
that
old worm.
Mandalorian armor is pretty strong.
Right.
Apparently.
So it saves him and he's able to like get out. Like, "Uah."
Now, that scene, not existing previously
Right.
in this series, like verbatim spoken word in Parks and Rec, right? When
What?
what's his name? Patton Oswalt does his whole speech about Star Wars. Okay, so this is how we're going to do a reboot on the series. You start in the Sarlacc pit. Boba Fett crawls out, shooting his laser back, and like it's already they just took it straight out of that.
Patton
I
Oswalt,
don't
Parks
remember
and
that
Rec?
I'm sure it's
all.
not his original. I think he's like quoting somebody else's material
I don't
in
know,
that. but-
Patton.
Hilarious.
I give Patton a lot of credit.
I know. I'm just saying that there are like thousands and thousands of volumes of Star Trek non-official canon.
Star
Somebody
Wars.
wrote that shit already. He's not.
They're like,
he
he's
didn't have to
down
quote
there.
that guy.
They're like, he's down
You
there.
said Star Trek.
Whatever. Star Wars, Star Trek. They got. There are
Don't even-
myriad non-canonical
Is
in
that
that
a
universe.
word?
Yeah, that's where it
Yeah.
comes from. Well, I mean, in the current zeitgeist, I'm pretty sure it's religious.
I love it, but I don't know if I've ever heard it. Wait, say it again.
It's canon.
I know it's canon, but
Yeah,
what's the word?
non-canonical.
Oh
Which is that's how it's referred to in religion.
Nautical. Like I don't know why.
Canonical and non-canonical.
I love that. I've never heard that word.
Star Wars were set underwater, then there would be non-canonical nautical.
How did what? You are
So,
insane.
actually, Catherine's friend Kirsten actually does that exact thing with Star Trek.
Oh, she works on the 2 new Star Trek shows on CBS's platform, which I think now is Paramount Plus, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I think they changed it. Yeah, she's a writer on that. But before that, she wrote Star Trek books. I believe mostly in.
Maybe she wrote the book about the Sarlacc.
Well, wait,
Oh,
that's
Star Wars. Dang it.
We're gonna start a war over the Star Trek Star Wars issue.
First of all,
Okay.
I would love for us to get in trouble for being popularized by getting these wrong. Go for it. Come at me.
No.
I'm your age. I don't have the greatest memory anymore. I got my
God.
stars crossed. I'm a star-crossed lover.
Although, to be clear, Star Wars novels, at one point called the Expanded Universe, was then declared non-canonical, not canon, just to clarify, since they were doing different things and all these books are really cover a lot of ground that they maybe want to do differently. Whereas the Star Trek novels, I think, are still considered canon.
Oh, really? The books Kirsten wrote, I believe, were for Voyager, Star Trek Voyager, and she works on Star Trek Discovery and Picard.
Her whole series that she spun off is
Picard.
Picard.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is awesome. Good for her. So
Robert Picard, not Picardo, from Enterprise, the series.
Oh, my
what
God.
the hell? All I can say is this, like, literally, if I was stoned and you said that word again, say it again.
Non-canonical. That's it. You just
I would
not
probably
recover.
laugh for like an hour. I don't. Okay. All right. So back on track. So yes, it picks up right there where Patton Oswalt had created the entire series of Parks and Rec, and it's fascinating. So in a way, watching with my son and my husband kind of knew more of the backstory than Ethan. We had to stop and say, "Do you remember that?" And we actually played the clip like from YouTube or something. So he remembered like how he fell into the pit. So it picks up like in a very interesting spot. And, in Mandalorian, how the Mandalorian series ended with Luke Skywalker coming in. Sorry, spoiler alert, but so you have a young Luke Skywalker, whereas the movies, let's be honest, it's the old and sort of the ending of that chapter with Luke Skywalker.
Right.
So it's really, as a fan, you're like, I'm in, you just love it. And I love anything to do with that. And it's on Tatooine, which is a throwback to our world.
For sure.
Now, I would just say they had this whole element of like spice and the Pike Syndicate that I was a little like, spice? Dude, we just watched Dune. Like, we called it something else. But other than that, it was like, they were just, I'm not hypercritical of it because I so love it. But there were so many like, Ming Na, I don't know if you know my history with her. She plays Fennec Shand.
Didn't you guys do a play
Yes.
together?
Okay. So my girlfriend, Susanna Melendez, is like a theater director, and she was doing a charity production of Grease. And she brought in seasoned performers like myself. And then I will say, very well-known talent like Ming Na. And she played Sandy in Grease. And I played Patty Simcock, the cheerleader.
Oh, my.
So we were actually cheerleaders together and did like whole routines together.
Oh,
so
fun.
I'm like, go Ming Na. Yeah. Because this is
Wait,
like...
wasn't there... there was more than one play. Wasn't there another one? I don't know if Ming Na was in.
No, she wasn't in Cabaret that I did.
'cause
No,
that's the one that stands out for me. I got put on stage, thanks. for
Yeah.
that one.
and I've done a lot of theater, so just keep that straight. But this was my Ming Na Association, where it was adults getting to play. It was very like Waiting for Guffman in some ways. So Ming Na was Sandy in it. And, it's so cool for her to become part of like the Marvel universe because she's obviously part of the Disney universe. And like, it's really cool because also
Wasn't she in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? She's been like
Yes.
really kicking butt lately.
Yeah, so bitchin'.
And a full complement and full circle of this episode also in ER.
What the hell? You're right. But you know where I really discovered
She had
her?
a sick father that she was taking care of.
I think she
Or mom.
played, every soap opera. I don't think she was a twin, but she might have been a twin. But it was As the World Turns, I think, was her first soap opera. And I remember we used to watch it, Secret Watch it. Remember, Catherine?
Oh, God. Well, I mean, we weren't allowed to watch soap operas at all.
The irony
so
that our dad was then on one for 10
then
years.
ended up on
But-
General Hospital. Hilarious.
Yeah, but I think she was on it. I got to check. John, was it, just confirm, was it As the World Turns? But so.
Sorry, I have to interject for a moment.
Yes.
Growing up, one of my favorite references to soap operas, because we didn't get to watch them that much, was in the movie Mr. Mom with Michael Keaton. He's on the phone with one of his girlfriends, and he's like, but I thought he got a vasectomy. It didn't take.
Yeah, I think that was
Victor Newman.
right. So the Young and the Restless. He ended up
No,
watching.
it can't be his kid. He got a vasectomy.
Exactly.
What? It didn't
It didn't take.
Yeah, she was on As the World Turns. I have IMDb'd it, and we have
And
confirmed.
I can't confirm if she was a twin or not, but I just know she was a...
I mean, there were definite.
And then Joy Luck Club. She's just been around, but this is like one of those things from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to this. And actually, when I did that play with her, the Grease play, she was about to go do Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And she was like,
Oh.
I don't know. We'll see if it goes. So what a run she's had.
Good for
and I
her.
also love it, she's of a certain age, but she's badass. She's like a bounty hunter, killing people, being the main protector of Boba Fett. And it's interesting because the Mandalorian, we thought she might be dead at the end of that. So for her to be able to come
she's
back,
not.
no, she is. Spoiler alert, she is not. So, and then actually, the character of Boba Fett is played by the actor Tamara Morrison, and he's awesome because he's another one that's like kind of been making appearances through the whole Star Wars movies and onto this. You love that they keep using the same actor.
Yeah, love it.
And they also referenced his facial features, the actual actor in the animated series, the Clone Wars, where you're actually seeing him as a clone, like all over the place.
Right.
There's like just his face. Every time someone takes their mask off, you're like, oh, it's that dude again.
Because they're clones.
Right. And I will say,
Well, isn't that like all the way back in the lore and history? Isn't that what we got in the prequels? The actual how Boba Fett, that Jango Fett, his dad, was like, nah, I want one for me.
yes.
Just give me a me, mini me.
Yeah, give me a clone of me. So exactly a mini me. So there's all those layers of throwbacks and homages. But what's interesting is this isn't a big empire. It's 7 episodes, and really the first 5, you're like, okay, well, this is like kind of about a land war, and he's taking over Jabba the Hutt's old territory. Because remember, Leia threw the chain around Jabba's hut, and in her hot little outfit, strangled the shit out of him.
I like how you called it Jabba's hut. Is that his neck? I mean, he didn't have a neck. He was just a giant hut.
But she got him.
He was a slug.
Ugh.
Oh, which
He was so gross.
there's a
tongue
great
was the grossest thing ever.
there's a great cameo. The only thing they really didn't cameo on this one was one of the greatest Disney characters, the rat. I mean, that rat needs.
Was
to make
it a
an
rat
appearance.
or a monkey?
Or do you mean your dog Casey?
Oh God,
Oh.
very similar. But I mean, that's what you want. Like, oh, where is he? Because actually, Jabba the Hutt.
Did you get the big thick neck guy with the wraparound?
Oh.
There,
Like, I don't know what that thing from his head
there
was.
is.
The green thing? Yeah, I think he came in. I think
All
so.
right, all right.
I like
Well-
repurposed some aliens. Good job.
Well, yes, and there's a couple great cameos that you're like, oh, of course, there's the bar scene, but Jabba the Hutt's 2 relatives show up to try to take back his territory. They're gross, God love them. And this is
Nice.
what's really interesting because, like I said, it's not the big stakes of like the evil empire and the resistance and all that. It felt very like Tatooine. Okay. Until the last 2 episodes.
More like a localized story.
Which I'll get to in a second. But speaking of the cantina, the person that runs the cantina on Tatooine, say that 20 times, is Jennifer Beals. Now, I'm going to rat my husband out.
Oh, my
That might
God.
have been his first boner. I mean, he loves Jennifer Beals. He was like, whoa, 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 whoa.
What the?
Whoa, what is she? And I knew, I look at my husband, and Ethan's like, what's going on? I'm like, nothing.
We cannot talk about
From
this.
Flashdance.
Of course.
She still looks great.
Oh, she's stunning.
I'm not going to tell you her kind of. I'm just happy to see her face in there, but there, maybe the ending's not wonderful. Another great cameo, and she can do no wrong. It's Amy Sedaris.
Oh, sure.
God, she's a wackadoodler.
She is
I
a-
love her.
She's
Yeah.
a
She was
crazy
in The
wackadoo.
Mandalorian as
As
she,
she fixed the ship or something,
he
right?
had a port or and that was where he parked his
Right.
ship and then had her little droids that were fixing things.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's, well, I'll bring it up because that kind of brings it up to where there was a shift in episode, I think it was 5, 6, and 7. There was a shift that you're like, oh, if I was kind of like, the stakes aren't that high, or maybe this isn't
As
the
connected.
depth.
It's not Star Warsy enough.
Yes, kind of. You're like, oh, now I'm all in. This is where the Mandalorian comes back. And also there is this whole sort of,
Don't spoil it. You could
Oh,
just
sorry.
say it grows and gets bigger and is
yes,
worth
the
it.
world gets bigger, and some of the Mandalorian characters come back, and they really add more layers and depth to it that you're like, hell yes. You're like, oh my gosh. Like there was a couple times like, yes, 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 yes. Like, and the CGI was like through the roof.
Love it.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I mean,
actually, I wanted to throw something into this. That the point when young Luke comes back at the end of Mandalorian, there was a big internet hubbub, and there's this thing called the uncanny valley. When you're doing CG animation, if it doesn't track, it doesn't look like a person, then you have dipped into the uncanny valley where our brains go, bullshit, that's not a person.
That's not good.
And even though that was mostly composited on top of a real actor, there was just a regular visual effects artist who saw that redid one of the scenes, put it out on the internet. They hired him for the series. That's why it looks better in Book of Boba Fett.
Wow.
He
Interesting.
showed them like, no, this is how you should be doing it. And they're like, correct. Here's
who are
some
you?
money.
We need to hire you.
Yeah, and so it goes in a direction the last couple episodes. You're like, hell yes. And it sets up for where probably The Mandalorian is going. So it's you get much more invested.
They might be checkerboarding the stories, like doing
Yes.
Mandalorian links to Boba Fett, links back to Mandalorian.
And
Interesting.
Timothy Oliphant, who you love,
I do love him.
he
One of your
looks,
favorite shows, Deadwood.
yeah.
Not Deadwood, you jerk.
Oh, I'm sorry. The Perfect Show? Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Santa Clarita Diet.
Santa Clarita Diet. He was so perfect. Yeah. Eric and John watched Deadwood, and I just could not get into it, and they would torture me with it. Just like, ugh. But man,
I watched, I feel like a season and a half of Deadwood, and then the speeches of certain characters would like be more than half the episode, and I couldn't take it.
yeah.
But I do Deadwood, so
There are some great characters in that show that
yes, for
you
sure.
could really hate.
But I
and stop
do
watching
love
because
Timothy
of.
Oliphant. So.
But like they're all, and you have to understand what I love about Disney. It's like there are people underneath the makeup. You're like, I don't know who that is. Phil Lamar is like one of the characters. Like, I don't know who you are. And Robert Rodriguez plays some of the characters. You'd be like, oh, okay. Didn't know you were under there.
Surprise.
Yeah. So Timothy Oliphant, that was pretty awesome. Rosario Dawson's in it. Danny Trejo. There's like, all these little fun cameos and world building. But I am excited for where it's going to go. It's 7 episodes on Disney Plus.
Ugh, you've sold me.
So the Book of Boba Fett. Yeah. Well, listen, I am one
That's
of
what
those
we're
people.
here to do. Sell each other on the stuff we've already watched so that then we can have more conversations.
But
I mean, that's
you
true.
can always get me into, practically anything in the Star Wars world. Yeah. I will watch. And then I have a son that's into it. So that just makes it even more enjoyable. So, and you also, because we talked about Yellow Jackets, Sophia Thatcher, I think is her name. She played the younger version of Juliette Lewis's character.
Oh, she was
so
great.
she's in this as well.
She was great. Okay, great.
And there's sort of a young gang vibe. So, and the one other thing, both Mandalorian and this, I got to give full props. I don't know if it's the same person, but the music and especially the intro theme, my son who loves music. I mean, so the composer on this was, the name, I'm sorry, is escaping me for the moment. But, all right, John, you look like you were leaning to say,
Well, it's Ludwig Göransson, so same guy from New Girl. He's done a million things.
What?
yeah,
Yep.
he's like John said, he's huge.
It is fantastic to the point where, you can have that little skip intro down at the bottom right.
You're like, no.
We actually don't. Oh, and the other thing to
That
wrap it
honestly,
up.
that's like one of my measures of a great show is, I need to open. I need to get into the mood. You set the tone for me. There's a couple
Well, that
shows
was like Succession.
I've watched multiple
Some
times where I've
opens are so
rewatched the
good,
whole
yeah.
open again. Like, oh yeah, this
Yeah.
is good.
And so the composer, fabulous job. The opening music, which is, I gotta believe, is probably also the Mandalorian music, but because yep,
You mean-
he did the Mandalorian and he did the Boba Fett composer.
You mean not the same music, you mean the same composer.
right?
Yeah.
Same composer, fabulous. And the thing they've done after both of these series, and I'll wrap it up, is they show some of the artist renderings at the end.
Yes, that's a neat thing that they do.
I love it. We sit through all of that, and it just, it's so cool to see, wow, they got really close, or, oh, that's how they envisioned it, but executed it this way.
Right, it evolved.
Yeah. So just, from beginning to end, it's totally enjoyable, especially if you have anybody in your life that likes Star Wars. It's on Disney Plus. It's just a little delight. And I think it sets up for where we're going to go for Mandalorian. And just to wrap it up, a big shout out. Great job to my, co-star from Greece, Sandy Ming Na. Fabulous job.
Yeah, she's great.
Yeah, so impressive. Go, 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 woman. Love it, love it, love it. And if they come back, she's set up, believe me, she's still alive. Sorry.
Hey, spoiler.
Spoiler alert. So, yes, all kudos to my former co-star in Grease production.
All right,
Good
so
for her.
that wraps up this episode of What We Are Watching.
So wait,
let's do a real quick recap and,
Yeah.
and sign off. So Liz, go ahead. Hit it again.
I watched the Book of Boba Fett on Disney Plus.
All right, and how about you, John?
I was Death on the Nile at the movie theater.
Ooh, out in the real world. And Catherine?
And I did Dollface on Hulu and also recommend People of Earth on Hulu.
And I watched Mortal Kombat. So just a wide variety. Like we said, we watch so many different things, and we're going to tell you all about them.
Oh, whoops. And we forgot also Superstore.
Superstore.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Came up. It's a good one.
But also, I definitely watched it. So
A big call out to Virginia, our sister. Watch Superstore. I feel like she takes our recommendations. I think she'll like that.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and follow all of our socials.
That's Podcast Watching on all the platforms, pretty much.
Yeah. And subscribe to our Patreon.
Thank you for listening to
What
We Are Watching.